this works for us and helps our kids to overcome their fear of losing and failing. So I adopted this mindset, I don't know, 25 years ago. Look at your life like a book, and you have chapters in your book, and maybe you're in the wrestling chapter, because there is a timeline. So, maybe if you're in insurance sales, you're a small business person, you may have 30 or 40 years to compete and keep trying, and you're going to touch the top a few times. Well, you may not be a state champion ever, even though that was your goal. So that's what's scary about sports versus other areas, is because there is a timeline. But when you also look at your competitive life, he's like, I'm a competitor, I'm never going to stop competing. Right now the chapter is wrestling competition, and then maybe you go into high school wrestling competition, and then maybe you go into college wrestling competition. Who knows, maybe you go into international wrestling competition, but eventually it's going to end. Maybe you go into jiu-jitsu, or you run marathons, or maybe you get a career where you get to compete, which is very awesome. To have a career where you get to compete. Maybe you sell insurance or sell real estate. So when you look at your book, your competitor book, you say, okay, this chapter I got second. This chapter, I was ranked number 18 in the state of Missouri in real estate sales or whatever, and I'm trying to be number 1 in America. You get to keep going, right? Like Alex Hormozy says, the point of the game is to keep the game going. And when you have a goal, you attain the goal, you get to touch the top, but just for an instance. Richest man in the world, that changes all the time. You may never be the richest man in the world again. You may be National Teacher of the Year. You may be top 20 ranked teachers in America. That's very awesome. That's still success. Just because you're not number 1, just because you're not an Olympic champion doesn't mean you're a failure. Just because you're not a state champion, just because you didn't get to go to the top college wrestling team in America, but you got a chance to wrestle in college and you got a little bit of scholarship for that. That is success. So just because you failed to be number 1 doesn't mean you failed. It means you earned third. It means you earned All-American. It means you earned the spot. It means you earned X number of dollars. It means you finished the marathon. You earned this great new body that you worked so hard to get back in shape. But you look at your life as chapters in a book, and you get to keep going again. See, that's how you keep the game going. And you also look back and you say, I did not fail because I was 4th in the state my senior year. Sure, I missed my mark to be the state champion, but I won 4th place. I did earn that. That is a win. And I think if we start to look at things a little bit differently, and maybe long term, Cale Sanderson has a very good way of doing things. He says your number 1 goal in life is to be a very good person, because when you're a good person, not only does your chances of obtaining all of your goals improve, but even if you lose and let's say you don't attain all of your goals or some of your goals, at least you're a good person, and that's a good place to be, so, and that's something you have total control over too. So, that's another sort of spin. But we want to take the threat out of, and the threat and fear out of not touching the top, because like John Smith taught me my senior year, we were training maybe before my senior, we were training, and he talks about, your goal is to, he said this, he goes, your goal is to be top 5 in the world, and whatever you choose to do, you can't choose everything, you can only choose a few things, but your goal is to be top 5% in the world. You could maybe say, well, that means top 1% in America, let's just say, or top 10% in America, whatever you decide. He's like, but your goal is, he goes, to strike gold a couple of times. He's like, you're probably not going to strike gold every day and all the time, But if you look back on your career, and then you look back on your coaching career or whatever, then you can say, well, here, I struck gold a couple of times. And all the times you came close, I mean, you made for a very successful career. And that's whenever I started really chewing on that and thinking about it. And I just came up with a concept of, my life is like a book, and I have to have chapters in my book. And it could be marriage, could be being a grandparent, could be financial, could be health, fitness, whatever it is, you decide. And then you say, okay, and I'm teaching my grandkids this at a young age. When they start competing, they're just now turning 5 and 2.5. They're going to have a very healthy outlook. And I think, some of these are things that I wish I had known when I was younger, and I'm sharing it with you. So share this with 5 others so they can be helped too.